Hello my dear student, and I'm uploading this video after quite a long time in my channel, and in the coming days you will be noticing that I'll be continuing to add few more videos related to the Java programming and all. So without wasting the further time, I will continue with the topic. So as you already know, like there are many students, they have queries related to the some kind of questions which often comes in their mind, is that like they want to know about the arguments and parameter, and sometimes the parameters, formal and actual parameters, and at the same time sometime they want to know about constructors. So today in this video I will try to uh, explain you all these things. So let's start with the parameters, actually formal and actual parameters. Okay, so in the formal and actual parameters, first we need to know is that what is the structure of a program. Fine, the structure of a program is basically divided into three. So first part of a Java program is its declaration section, which comes on the top, where we declare our classes, our variables and methods. And in the second part, what we do is we simply define them. So first we declare classes, variable, objects and methods, and in the second part what we do, we define them. Okay, like the whole description, what they are going to do in all details and how they are going to do. And in the third portion, what we do, we call them. Okay, so please remember this, I'm repeating again. What we do, first we declare the members of a class, then we define the members of a class, and then finally we call them. And one more thing, to call any member of a class we need an object. I hope that you understand and you already know, but if you have little bit of doubt, in the coming videos I will be adding all those things and explaining all those things to you. So it is declaration, definition and then calling. Fine. And to call any member of a class, we need an object of the same class. With the help of an object using dot operator, we call them. Fine. Then okay, so coming to the real-time execution of a program. So while creating a program, what we do, first we declare, then we define and then we call. But when our program actually run, what happen? First it goes to the calling part, then in the calling part it come across with that variable or a method, then the Java control goes throughout the program to search where actually that method really exists in its declaration part, and then it finally goes to its definition part. So actually when your program run, then what happen, first it goes to the calling part, then from calling it goes to the declaration, and from declaration it goes to the definition, and then it execute the program the way it should run. Fine. So coming to the declaration part, we declare a particular method, that this method will have this particular name with this particular type of return type and the number of parameters, whatever we want to have in that. Fine. So that is called declaration. So in declaration, what we do, we declare a function or a variable where what should be the name, what should be its return type, and what is the accessibility of a particular variable or a method using public, private, etc. That is simply a declaration. But declaration doesn't mean a creation. It doesn't mean a creation of a variable or a method. Fine. So let's say if in our program we have declared 5 or 6, let's say 6 methods. Fine. But when it comes to calling, or sorry, the definition, after the declaration it comes definition. So when it comes to the definition, let's say out of 6 I have already declared 3. So you tell me that how many methods are really available for us to use, that is not 6 but only 3, because we have just declared 6 but defined only 3. So please remember, the method or a function which has already defined, those are only available. The declaration, no matter how many you have declared, it is not going to count any more. It is just like something has been declared by the government, but that is not existing in real. What exists in real is which has been defined, which has been created, that is only available for us. So far what we have discussed, we need to declare some variable or methods, then we need to define them, and finally we need to call them with the help of an object. Now coming to the formal and actual parameter, this particular question. So I have, let's say, method in my program, let's say 3 methods in my program. Okay, and those methods are, let's say, parameterized, means in those methods we have some parameters also in it. So let's say we have declared them first, then we are now defining. While defining, so if it is a parameterized method, definitely there will be some parameter I need to pass while defining. So the parameter which I am putting inside those method in the definition, I am repeating, the parameter which I am putting inside those 2 brackets in a method while defining it are called formal parameters. Please remember, the parameter which I put in a method's definition within the 2 round brackets are called formal parameters. Fine. And using those formal parameters in that method, I'm going to define it like what it is going to do and all sorts of things within the 2 curly bracket open and close. Fine. So those are formal ones. It's the mere formality. Okay. Then when it comes to calling, obviously I'll have to call with the help of an object, but when I'm calling with the help of an object, remember, I'll be using exactly this method with the same name, actually the same method, but in this case I will have to pass parameters in it because that was the parameterized constructor, the method. So I'll have to pass the parameter, but remember, the parameter which I will pass now in the calling will be replacing the formal parameters. There it was formal parameters, but when I will call it, I will pass again those parameters in that particular method. Now the parameter which I will pass, which will replace the formal parameters, are called actual parameters. So the parameter which we pass during a calling of a method are called actual parameters, and these actual parameter replaces the formal parameter. These parameter replaces the formal parameter, but make sure that the number and the type of the parameter should be the same. Let's say I have a method with 2 parameters int and int of integer type. Then when I'm calling those 2 methods and I'm passing the parameter, those 2 again should be of type int and int. That should exactly match. So the formal parameter and the actual parameter, in that case, please remember that the formal will be replaced by the actual, but the condition is it should exactly match. It's not like in the formal parameter you have given int, and here while calling you are passing to float in the actual ones. That is wrong. So I think you must be getting about the formal and the actual parameters. So I'm repeating the sentence again. The parameter which we pass in a method during its definition, declaration and the definition are called formal parameters, and the parameter which I pass during the calling of a method are called the actual parameter. And actually the actual parameter replace to the formal ones. So I think now it is clear to you. Now the next question is, that is normally a general question is about what is parameter and what is argument. So let me tell you, like I have already explained you about the formal and the actual parameters and all. So now I'm coming to that point. Actually the formal parameters of my programs are in general called parameters. The formal parameter in my program in general are called parameters, whereas the arguments are nothing but actually the actual parameters. So I'm again clarifying this, like that we already know that now that we have two types of parameters, formal and actual. So you simply can say formal parameter equals to parameters and actual parameters equals to arguments. Fine. So formal parameters which we have during the definition of a method are also called in general parameters, whereas the parameters which we pass during the calling are actual parameter, they are in general called arguments. So this is a very common question in the Viva. So now I think you will be easily able to answer it. Fine. So the last part of this video is about the constructor. So in the next video I will explain you constructor in the detail, but right now in this video I'm just explaining you in a brief what is a constructor. Constructor is basically a special kind of method only. You know about a method, like in a class we have variable and methods. Fine. And methods are nothing but a kind of procedure to perform a particular task. Let's say addition, it's a procedure to add two numbers and to print the results. Similarly we have subtraction or multiplication, division. These are some procedure to perform a particular task. So constructors are special kind of methods. They are method, but they have some unique features. So those are called constructors. What is unique about a constructor is that the name of a constructor should exactly be the same as of a class. Constructor is nothing but a kind of method only whose name is same as that of a class name. Let's say my class name is, let's say, test with T capital. So I will have a constructor with the name called test only with T capital and bracket open and close, because constructor is a kind of method, so you know obviously we'll have to use parenthesis at the end. So now I think you remember constructors are basically a special kind of methods only whose name should exactly be the same as that of a class name. Exactly means cases also need to take care of. Fine. Second thing is, constructor never returns a value. Like, you know, method sometime it returns a value, sometime it doesn't, like may or may not return a value. If method is returning a value, then you write its return type also, like public int count or public void count. So the first one, it will return the value int, that is why we have mentioned in this declaration part. Second is public void count. When it is not returning any value, then we write public void count. Fine. But Constructor never returns a value. Please remember, method may or may not return a value, whereas constructor never returns a value. So some of you must be thinking, if it doesn't return a value, then we need to use keyword void while defining a constructor. No, this is something you need to remember. Although constructor never returns a value, but we will not write a keyword void. We will simply write method name. Sorry, the constructor name. Let's say my class is test, so I am creating a constructor with simply test, bracket open and close, and rest depend upon like how we are defining it. No return type will be there. Do not, or you might be thinking, if it doesn't return a value, or it never returns a value, so I should write void in front of it. No, you just write the name of a constructor. So first thing is, constructor is a special kind of method with the same name as that of a class name. Second is, it does not return any value. Now third thing, what is the use of a constructor? Like, use of a method is to perform a particular type of task. It's a procedure to add, to subtract, to multiply, to divide, or to do any other thing, to count. But role of a constructor is different. The role of a constructor is to initialize the object, during the creation of an object. Fine. The role of a constructor is simply to initialize the object when it is being created, not to do a particular job or something. So third thing is, the role of a constructor is to initialize the object during its creation. Now the next thing is, when a constructor will be called, or how a constructor will be called. Like, to call a method, we need an object. We just discussed in the beginning. Let's say I have a method called sum, sum with bracket open and close in my program, and I have an object called ob. So to call a method sum, what I will write? I will write ob.sum. Okay, in the coming video I will explain you in detail. So what I should write? ob.sum. Ob is the name of that object of that particular class, and sum is that method belongs to that particular class. So that is why I can write object name dot method name, ob.sum. So will this apply to constructor also? Because constructor is also a method. So should I write ob.test? No. Please remember, you cannot call a constructor with the help of an object. That is a wrong statement. The constructor will be called itself. The constructor will be called itself because a constructor will be called during the creation of an object. Please remember, when a constructor will be called during the creation of an object. And what is the role of a constructor? To initialize the object during the creation of an object. So imagine, a constructor will be called during the creation of an object. So how an object can be used to call a constructor? Yes or no? So I think you must be knowing now, because constructor is already been there in our program, and it is simply being called during the creation of an object. So in the coming videos I will be explaining you constructor in detail, the types of constructor, and how they can be used in our program, and the overloading of a constructor. And in this series of Java we will be discussing about and arrays and string handling in the coming days. Okay, so I'm concluding my video right now here, and if you like it, please subscribe my channel, and in the coming days I'll be uploading another videos to this series. Thank you very much.